Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is Way T Lightheart from Bioptimizers and the Awesome Health Podcast, and we are excited and delighted because we have a very special guest today who's going to talk to us about a variety of things which comes to skincare and holistic oral hygiene. And her name is Nadine Artemis. And she actually has a spot right down the street from me in Venice, California. Of course, she's a transplanted Canadian like myself, which is great, going around the world, helping people. She's an author of a couple of books, Renegade Beauty, Reveal and Revive Your Natural Radiance, and Holistic Dental Care, the complete guide to healthy teeth and gums. This is a big thing if you want to live a long time, and maybe Nadine will bring us more to that. She is the creator of Living Libations, a luxury line of organic, wild-crafted, non-GMO serums, elixirs, and essential oils for those seeking the purest of the pure botanical, natural health and beauty products on the planet. I love her products. They work great, they feel great, and they smell amazing. Anyways, some of her celebrity fans are Shailene Woodley, Carrie-Anne Moss, Mandy Moore, and a ton of others. In fact, Alanis Morisette described Nadine as a true sense visionary. Amazing. Her official biography begins when she first combined flasks of essential oils to recreate Nina Ricci's L'Air de Tombe for a School of Science fair. There's my French accent for you folks. And of course, she started this whole thing way back, osmosis, way back in 1994. You're like an OG legend in this whole thing. This is great. And she's been, received glowing reviews from some of the most critical, I would say, media outlets in the world, like The Hollywood Reporter, Los Angeles Times, New York Magazine, People, Elle, Yoga Journal, Natural Health, the New York Times, and the National Post. Bottom line, Nadine is an innovative aromacologist, developing immune-enhancing formulas and medicinal blends for health and wellness. So let's get at it. Let's just get started. Nadine, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Now, I know you are way up in the wilds of Northern Ontario. Well, we'd call Southern Ontario, but everybody in the States would figure you're like next door to the Arctic, basically. It's Southern Ontario for us Canadians. It's way up north from everybody in the States and below. So thanks for joining us during this whole lockdown craziness.
Yeah, it is an interesting time.
Now, I think it's really fascinating how, number one, you started this. I want to dive into a couple things before we get to the oral dental care, because I think this is an area that people really need to kind of get to. But 1994, what was going, people were not talking organic skincare and mixing oils and elixirs. How the heck did you get into this? Give us a backstory where you're from, how this all started. It was
before the internet too. That's why I'm still like, really? Could that have happened without the internet? It did.
It's kind of amazing that things happened before I think they're going to change the calendar from instead of AD and all that now, it's going to be BI, before the internet and after the internet. So it'll be BI and AI. So I guess, with artificial intelligence, it's driving.
Was also something we really have at this exact moment, the BC, right? Yes. The before COVID.
Yeah. Yes. So before COVID, after COVID. Yeah. Oh God, man. How did you get started on this whole thing?
Yeah. Well, it was luckily to dive into it early. I feel like a lot of, when I was a kid, a lot of what I knew and what shaped me was really honing into what I was very much if I didn't like it or want, I just really would veer away, and was always focusing on what I love, what are my strengths. Now, obviously that's a bit hard when you're just a kid and you're going to school, you can't just drop subjects you don't like, but I did keep that focus going. And when I could have those moments of self-directed learning, like that science fair project where I didn't know what I was going to do, but then I found a book on making cosmetics at the library, and there was this great chapter on perfumes. And then I really was like, oh, they're made from things, right? Because we didn't know. We just had all these bottles, and I collected them all. And I was the youngest in my family, so I got all the hand-me-downs from my mom and my sister on the cosmetics. So I just would blend it all,
wow.
Take the eyeshadow.
So you're doing this as a teenager.
Totally. Well, even a kid, I was just mixing
things.
Really? I'd take the eyeshadow, mix it with the lip balm, and make a white lipstick, or, so I was doing that. And I was mixing those synthetic perfumes too. So when I was like, oh my God, they're like distilled from things and plants, and there's this history with Egypt, and I loved Egypt, and my great grandfather was happened to just be the president of the London Egyptology Society in the 1800s, and he would go on archaeological digs with like Howard Carter. So I had his paintings in our home, which were like his hand painting of the Temple of Luxor, or like Isis, like this whole goddess picture in the original framework and stuff. So that was sort of like there as an undercurrent. So I was fascinated. I did the project. In the book, they talk about these things called essential oils, that's what they were made. And they said you could probably find them at your health food store. So my mom drove us in, and that's where I got my first whiffs of things like orange, lemongrass, jasmine, ylang. And that really spoke to me. Now, again, I wasn't getting all the messages at that stage, and I didn't still get the difference between natural and synthetic, but definitely there was an awakening with my olfactory bulb and a fascination. So that continued. And, then, other, like the Body Shop existed, and we thought that was natural. So that was like, it seemed exciting. Then what happened is I went to university, and I just started to really think about what I was eating. And then I happened to be skipping school one day, and Lisa Bonet was on a talk show, and she was talking about the connection between like food and diet and ecology and health. And we never even talked about health and food kind of like then. Like, I think we knew something, but not really. I mean, my mom kind of like, my brother couldn't eat sugar, so we kind of had those in our family, so that was really neat. And then it was really just in a period of a month where I was like, okay, I get what I'm eating. I'm not going to eat processed food again. I always ate organic from that moment forward. I started really understanding on what's on a label. What is this processed food? Let's buy food without labels. That whole thing. I really got it. And then it just looked over at my skincare labels, and I was like, holy cow, what I thought was natural just isn't. And immediately I just started making my own stuff.
Wow.
While I was going to university. And luckily I lived by myself at that stage, and I just could like convert my kitchen, and I was just like started to make things and then sell it to friends and family. And it was successful as a side hobby business. And then at school, I was learning about like women's health and the hazards of IUD, why midwifery is really neat, and like the historical medical history of like women's bodies. So that was super fascinating, because then if you plug in beauty to that and the history of beauty in Western culture, or even in other cultures, I mean, from foot binding, to genital mutilation, to just mercury or lead in our cosmetics, like the history is just really not, like, it's so intense and not a good story. So I just found that those two things were really kind of related as well. So that, what we're putting on and around our bodies is like political, it's health, it's like the whole thing. So also I was really able to channel my youthful renegade rebellion into something really, really productive. And I would read a lot of books and research about all these raw materials, and I couldn't get them at the local health food store. So I just started searching and exploring the world and writing to farmers and agricultural consulates and distillers. And then I just started gathering my own raw materials from around the world, because I would read about it in a book and I had to smell it. I had to bring it in, like obsessed. And so while I was going to university, I just started importing all these raw materials and essential oils. And then just like 6 months after graduating, I opened up North America's first full concept aromatherapy store called Osmosis right on Queen Street in Toronto.
Wow. Holy. For those who don't know, Queen Street is kind of like where it's all going down in Toronto. Yeah. A lot of great shops. It'd be very similar to...
It's like our Soho, kind of.
Yeah, it totally is. It's a really
cool place. Or like
place.
Melrose or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's an awesome place. You touched on a couple things, and I think this is a really important thing for people to address. There is an incredible amount of pressure in today's world on women. I like to say we're 60 years basically into the most radical biological experiment in the history of biology, and that is that women can now control whether they have kids or not. And I think, and that's not a political statement, that's just a reality. And that has changed a lot of the possibilities, a lot of the trajectories for women. But there's still this huge cosmetic industry, fashion, cosmetic, beauty. Let's just kind of, it's all kind of rolled into one, this kind of, you know, extremely overt, hyper feminine kind of projection that's airbrushed and chemicalized and, you know, fashioned out with extraordinary expensive clothes and crazy stuff. And then you mentioned they're putting all these toxic chemicals on top of the person. So you fit the airbrush photo shoot at La with all the right angles. And they took 10,000 photos and they have the 3 ones of the most genetically beautiful people in the entire world who are starving themselves. And they look like, you know, this kind of craziness that kind of goes on there. And that is seen as the standard for women. And like, I can relate because I got hooked into the bodybuilding world. They show these hyper masculine stage men with massive muscles, and you're a 15-year-old kid going, "Oh, obviously I'm not this guy." And they put them on covers with beautiful women, and you're going to get women, or they're going to do this. And so they kind of hook our sexuality into in sexual desirability and all of that glamour, which is its own energy, and all these kind of very powerful base drives. And then wrap it out into this kind of external appearance. But that's dangerous because not only what people are doing from a health side, but what they're putting on their skin. Can you talk to me, like, how do people find that? Or like, what was your journey when you're like, OMG, they're killing women to look a certain way?
Well, it was so long ago, we didn't even have OMG as an expression.
And no one heard us about it if we said it anyways, right?
But the crazy thing is, like, that was coming into my realization in the 90s, where, where we needed media literacy. And it was sort of like that first wave of like, how to read what's in the ad and like understanding airbrushing. Like, I think as a people, we maybe knew, but we weren't having that filter as we saw everything. Oh yeah, that's airbrush and stuff. And now, and like everything's gotten more complicated, including like the foundation and the makeup that has like polymers in it. And you're basically like just got a full, non-porous layer over the skin, and surgeries, and everything's like, since the 90s, all of that has just like peaked upon peaked upon peaked. Now, we're a little more media literate now, and we know things are airbrushed, but I still don't think it can penetrate that first visual hit of seeing things. And then this, really cultural construct of comparison. Now, as human beings, I'm sure we're probably got a little bit of a wiring to compare in a way, but like right now it's so hyped up and everything's on the veneer. And yeah, even men, where I think they maybe were a little safe before, and we didn't have to see every square inch of the man's real estate as something that we can sell a product to. But those days are over now too, right? It's like every facet of a human being is like seen as a marketed realm, and especially in the realm of cosmetics. And we all know it's like, let's market to the insecurities, or even create insecurities. In my book, I have a whole chapter dedicated to the health of the vagina. And I take a walk through what the advertising has been producing since the 40s. And it starts out with Lysol. Lysol. Oh, and you can you can Google vintage Lysol ads for douching, and it's insane. Insane. Then that got a bit harsh. So then Listerine came out and was like, we're gentler. And it never really got better since then. And why was I going to say that? I forget. Just because, and then I have a quote from Bill Bloss, who I guess he started making a skincare line besides the clothing. And it's just this quote that was like, there's a whole new area that we can create an insecurity around and market to it. Now, that's not a direct quote, but it's like it's quoted in the book, but it's just like that horrific. And so that's what we're up against in a way. But yeah, then the crazy thing is that we're really psychically thinking that beauty is something that's applied. That's right. The message.
Yes.
And then if we really look at the ingredients, it's insane, because that is aging. Like that $1,000 eye cream or that $5 eye cream from the drugstore, it's insane, you know, what the ingredients are and how it's just the antithesis. No cell in our body is parched for petroleum. Nothing needs, like nothing's going to find homeostasis from applying petroleum-based creams to our bodies.
This is one of my pet peeves as a dude. Okay, this is one of my really things, and you know, I'm a guy, and I know nothing about cosmetics, right? That's why we have people like you to talk to me about it. And I know a lot of guys, like since I grew up, when I started, like if a guy was using kind of skincare or cosmetic stuff, and now it's this huge industry for guys.
Yeah.
One of the things I've always found fascinating, and I see this kind of trend with social media, is like, I see younger girls today kind of looking almost like plasticky dolls with like very thick levels of foundation. And it's this kind of artificial digital imagery that comes out, and I'm looking at them and I'm seeing girls kind of do that. I'm going, I don't know what's going on. But the part that really always got me is you talk about petroleum base. The girls will put on all these crazy lipsticks kind of to make, you know, you more attractive through biological attraction processes and stuff. And you get to the point where you kiss them and it just tastes like I was motor oil. And I'd be like, God. And as guys, we would sit around and going, I like my lady to have something that's like, I don't like that crazy taste lipstick.
Yeah,
how do you put that on your mouth? And like, it's gross.
It is interesting. Generally, if we are doing this all for the male population, I mean, that's sort of what the ads do, right? That's what the message kind of is like we get pretty for attracting men. I have a
thing of it.
But it is weird because I don't think guys are totally into like red nail polish and red lipstick. Yeah, no, that's what
They're not. But I have another theory, and that is that women don't try to look better for men. I think they look better to outcompete the other women because, like, you know,
that could be a part of it now too.
Yeah, there's like a competition with women.
Yeah, because really, the amount that we've been marketed to on like every level, and it's way more, it's just more now, everything's been expanded, is like, it's, you know, it's a bit of a mind F because it's hard to know where our thoughts begin or not, or this level of comparison. I mean, I think one of the best things we can do as human beings for ourselves and for one another is to just stop the comparison. Just stop it. Like if you're seeing your brain go that way, it's like bring it back in. And, you know, maybe that'll be for some people, some of the gifts from this quarantine time, because we are needing to be a little more inward, a little less external stimulus, you know, so maybe.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I know I'm a big fan of Dr. Jordan Peterson, and he talks about the neurophysiology of biochemical hierarchies. How we're hardwired from lobsters all up, that we share the surface nervous system, and how we stand and how we carry ourselves, and all these sort of things contribute. And of course, beauty being sexual desirability and stuff like that. So maybe if we can't totally get away from the comparison model, because it's baked into our system, can we create a value system? And I think this is one of the areas that you do really well. Not only do you have products that I think make people look better, but it's 100% allowing people to experience health, not compromising their health in the long term by what I call unleashing the natural beauty within, by putting these natural organic compounds, these things that are actually enhancing your health and your beauty. Because I can tell you this, every guy I know loves that kind of natural, healthy, glowing component. It's far more attractive as a person. And there seems to be, when, you know, because I've gone through the whole gamut, I feel a natural connection to people who are on that, you know, like there just feels an organic feel to how that person is. And they seem more genuine and they seem more with it. I know that's a projection, but it just seems,
I think there's a thing, it feels like there might be less veils or something. I know when I get to hug somebody that's like totally just doused in natural aromas, it does feel a little more cozy. So
let's talk about that. Let's talk about the difference between the I don't know what you'd call it, the tactile or olfactory difference between a chemical product, a beauty product that you might find in the drugstore, or like a beauty store or whatever it happens to be, versus something that you're going to find at Living Libations. What would you say are the definable things on the external side? And then we can talk about what's below the surface.
Yeah. So yeah, there's going to be many layers and sort of depending on what realm of products, but generally speaking, it's like everything that I'm creating is about bringing it from the inside out in any, I think of maybe a simple example could be like toothpaste. So
right.
we're all used to that minty fresh, Colgate thing. But it's like, but that's filled with parabens and fake mint and all that. So we've got that as an option that will, spur pathogens in our mouth and make maybe the gums bleed. Maybe it's got tetracycline, so you're messing with the microbiome in the mouth. Or you can have something that's been where every drop of an ingredient counts, where you've got actual mint, which is helping to clear up pathogens while working with the friendly bacteria, helping to create resiliency in the gum tissue. Actually, antifungal, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, or mixed with baking soda, which is such a simple ingredient, which our bodies actually produce and kind of wears down a bit as we go around the sun a few more times. And, and that's a beautiful ingredient that's, alkalinizing. It's regenerative. So, you've got a whole bunch of other options, not just like toxic, oh, let's just make it neutral. No, we can do the exact same things we're doing every day and have them enhance our immune system. Or on the skincare level, we've got ingredients that are inhibiting the negative enzymes that destruct collagen and elastin. That's like things like chamomile, frankincense, rose, and it's with jojoba, that is one of the best oils that matches on a plant level, is a very similar match to our skin's own sebum. And it's not going to disrupt the skin's microbiome. It's going to help lymphatic blood flow. And again, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antibacterial. So it's just like, there's a whole realm of beauty and possibility in these beautiful gifts we have from the botanical realms for skincare, or your 50 derivatives of petroleum, methylparabens, which when diseased breast tissue is studied, 99% of all diseased breast tissue has parabens in it. So that's where you can apply your deodorant every day and get a daily micro dose of aluminum for 40 years. You can do that, or you can work with like sandalwood and frankincense and then have them mix and meld with your pheromones, and then you get a gorgeous smell that when you've done your yoga or your hot yoga or your workout, you have people following you saying, oh my God, you smell so good. So, those are the options. And I'm going over here,
So the question that comes up to mind is, why do you think the whole chemical nature just, since way back, you're talking about the 40s or maybe before, how did that just kind of go crazy versus the natural organic side? Why do you think that happened?
I think it was sort of around the turn of the 19th century, because prior to that, medicine and plant and perfumery and cosmetics, and I mean that in the broad sense, not like mascara, was seen as the same thing. And in ancient cultures, the priest was also the perfumer, and there was a oneness there. But then at the turn of the century, where they could start synthesizing was part of it. And then there was a separation. And I think that the deep sort of philosophy behind that is the need to control nature and the randomness of nature, which is really the most beautiful thing, because it's what puts the eternalness in eternity. That's why I love living out here, is because I just get to see all the time the eternalness and the non-human, hand that's, so I'm not looking at asphalt, I'm looking at like beautiful trees and stuff. And I need that reminder all the time. So I feel like it was that desire to control and to, like regulate, in the sense of like, what substance am I working with? And I don't want it to vary from season to season. And I need this thing that I'm going to extract from the plant to always be the same amount in every plant I'm getting. And so I feel like that's the whole thing, even, at some point deep in the psyche of like even making GMOs, it's like to try and have power over the natural world so that we can have it standardized and synthetic, so we know what to expect. And so when you're making cosmetics, I mean, in that laboratory realm and that commercial drugstore realm of stuff, you just want to know what you're working with, and you don't want any variables. Whereas, we're working with the variables. Maybe, something is, every batch is a little bit different. And then our goal is to how can we take nature's variabilities and create consistency? And that's really where, every day, that's what we're doing.
That's great. Beautifully said. So let's talk about maybe where a person generally starts. So I'm completely ignorant to cosmetic care and stuff. And it's one of the reasons I had you on here, because I like your products, but I don't know what I should do as a guy or what someone should do as a woman to get started in making this transition, or what are the key components that you feel that people start with as they go down this journey. Can you kind of outline what a typical person usually gets started with, or what you feel they should get started with, and maybe they come in from another route if they want to make that switch to going to a more holistic, organic, natural kind of sensory experience and beauty enhancement program?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, first, anything that you're probably doing, we probably have the Libations version. So if you shave, we have a beautiful Zen shave. If you use deodorant, we've got the beautiful Poetic Pits, and we've got from bar soap. I generally though just pits and bits for the soap, and I don't recommend we soap our faces and stuff. So whether you're male or female, then that sort of guy. And then if you're a guy, then you may or may not be taking care of your face or washing it, and that's okay. But if you want to start, then we have the best skin ever, which is, this would be for men or women. That's where you start. That's what you're going to wash your face with. That's what you can moisturize your face with. Now, again, we've got many variations in serums and creams, but we also, I made the best skin ever to be the one bottle to do it all. And if you want to just be so basic, you could just have that. You can even use it for shaving. You can use it as a beard oil. You could use it as an aftershave. If you're having a massage, you can bring that oil to get a massage.
Wow. So you put the oil on the face.
Yeah. So what you do is, you just take a cloth and you wet it, and then you squirt the oil on and you wash your face, whether you're a man or woman. If you have makeup on, it will remove the makeup. So it's really great. And that really gets people off of soap. So that'd be one of the biggest things to really bring face skin, especially because that's usually where people have more of the issues, bring it back into balance, because that vicious cycle of using soap really messes with the microbiome. And then we're usually over exfoliating. And it's usually, soap with chemicals, not like a natural bar soap. And now that the microbiome has been studied a lot more, what researchers now see is that surfactants are left in the skin. So even if that's your mild foaming cleanser from the health food store, the surfactants are microscopic. They're lodging themselves into the stratum corneum, which is the top layer of the top. It's the top layer of the top layer of the skin. It's 1 milliliter thick. And so they get lodged into the stratum corneum, and then that messes up the food supply for the bacteria, which sounds gross, but we do need happy bacteria on our faces, doing what they do. We can't, I think in the 40s, we had this sort of germ warfare theory.
Sure.
Where
Well, it's gone crazy now with this lockdown stuff. They don't know, everybody's washing their hands and antiseptic everything, and they don't realize they're damaging their microbiomes. They're weakening their immune systems. Can you explain to our listeners what a surfactant is? It sounds like, hey, my name is Mr. Surfactant from London.
So surfactants are the things that make soapy soap. So it's sodium lauryl sulfate is a very common synthetic surfactant.
Okay, right.
But yes, and then you can have natural surfactants like yucca root, and some herbs are saponifying, and they can kind of make a soap. So your natural bar soap is great. And yes, we do need to wash our hands from, time to time. And just a simple bar soap, really any bar soap, will break down the coat of the virus, sort of the wall that it contains. And you really can wash away viruses from your hands in 20 seconds. And it doesn't need to be powerful, because it's literally the saponification of the soap that will do that. So you don't need triclosan in your soap, or you don't need killers, because the literal soap will do it. Right. But yeah, we're over clean. It's called the hygiene hypothesis. So forget COVID, even for the past 20, 30 years, we've been living too cleanly, too Lysol, the home has just been sprayed, and and with chemicals, and we're not sitting in the dirt, we're not like getting some sun, and so that's what helps build up our natural microbiome. And a lot of our practices have been taking away the microbiome information that we actually need. So it's like been a little bit too sterilized. And then on top of the sterilization, we're adding in foods that literally have no prebiotics or probiotics, because it's like Wonder Bread, Wonder Bread and Lysol isn't going to get your immune system too far.
I've seen this so often with people who come to us from all sorts of skin conditions, and they get into this hyper cleansing component and really throw off. A lot of people think of their microbiome as just something in the gut. And of course, at Bioptimizers, we're very focused on that, but it's also part of our skin. Can you share with us how, like, the best skin cream ever or whatever, works to support your microbiome on your face, and why that's so important?
So a little bit more about the skin's microbiome, because it's in our guts, big, in our mouths, and there, there's ear canal, nose, so it's everywhere. But really a huge one is our skin. And so our general modern practices are not good for the microbiome. We want to kind of step back from those practices and really allow the bacteria to be the beautician, which again sounds freaky, but we really do want the bacteria to take care of things. So we've been over exfoliating as a nation, we're scrubbing and we're leaving the skin too vulnerable. It's and it's erasing the skin's microbiome on the face. So it's kind of like leaving your front door open on vacation. So things you can do that. You've got probiotics. So taking probiotics is obviously great. You can even make masks, take honey, open some probiotic capsules and apply that to your skin to start getting the lipid barrier and the stratum corneum more balanced. But you definitely, one of the first things is stop using soap. Get a shower filter, because the chlorine on the skin's microbiome, it's, it's mutating the microbes, and we don't want that. And then you think of all the things that we apply to the skin, it's just like not a good story for the bacteria at all. So we want to allow it to thrive.
Now you bring up go ahead.
I was going to say, and so how something like the Best Skin Ever works is that it's working to rebalance. You're not getting in a vicious cycle where we're stripping away lipids, stripping away with the surfactants, and then it's got the essential oils in it, which, depending on which one, are calming and cooling and anti-inflammatory, and they're going to work with the bacteria. They're not going to be against it.
The Bioptimizer mission is to help more of the world fix their digestion at a core level. The truth is, your digestion is only as good as your enzyme levels. Imagine trying to build a house with a tree. It's impossible. You need to chop the tree down into small pieces. Similarly, in order for your food to be used by your body, it must be broken down into a bioavailable form. And that's what enzymes do, converting protein into amino acids, fats into specific fatty acids, and carbohydrates into usable energy units. We start out with an abundance of enzymes, and that's why kids can digest just about anything really quickly. The thing is cooking food kills enzymes, as they cannot survive at temperatures above 118 degrees. So years of this ends up depleting our bodies and leads to weak digestion. Taking digestive enzymes like masszymes, which has an incredibly high level of protease for digesting protein, as well as other critical enzymes like lipase, amylase, and others, is a total game changer. Suddenly, you strengthen your digestion, eliminate gas and bloating, boost metabolism, and multiply your energy. Most importantly, you fix your digestion at a core level. To get started with masszymes and to save 10% on your first order, go to masszymes.com. That's masszymes.com, and use the code MASS10, MASS10.
Right. You bring up something I think is really important, because I was just talking about this yesterday. I'm out in the desert every day right now, and it's super drying, and I'm looking at my legs and I'm going, oh my God, I look like a Tenderflake pie commercial. And I was like, okay, what do I need? So I said, oh great, I'm so glad I'm interviewing Nadine tomorrow, because I can ask her.
Yeah.
What is too much exfoliation on the skin? And then what is kind of like the optimal amount? And then what should you be doing in concordance if you are exfoliating? Because I think that's a big topic, and a lot of, because I can't tell you how many ladies have told me, look, you got to exfoliate. And okay. And then they get the brushes out and the scrubbers and the copper things, and it feels kind of good, but I don't really know what I'm doing. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm in. Okay. So can you just like demystify this whole program for me?
Well, definitely there's sort of, exfoliation moments, but like the hardcore plastic beads, lasers, taking off layers, all that. No, we got to get a little more gentle. So generally we have these organic cloths, but you can use any face cloth that's got kind of that texture.
You got these new cloths. You got these new cloths though, right?
They're beautiful and organic and hemp.
I love hemp.
Hand cut, it's good stuff. Yeah. But really, I also like, if you got a cloth at home, you can do this right away. Even if you have olive oil, like a high quality or jojoba, you can start right away and just whatever you were doing before with your face, just say goodbye. So that cloth and the oil, generally speaking, you're going to do that. That's like a little exfoliating. You know what I mean? It's just that right amount, like for a daily use. But what you can also do then is take a pinch of baking soda or clay, chew that cloth and oil, and then you can do that. And that's like going to give you all the exfoliation you need and going to be very compatible to the microbiome. So on the rest of your body, I also recommend doing that too. It's really nice. So you can do that little bit, so you got the wet cloth or the damp cloth, couple squirts of oil, and then a pinch of baking soda, pinch of clay. And you're gonna have to kind of do this for each section of the body. And then you go over your hands, your legs, wherever it's dry, right when you're out of the bath or the shower. Well, the skin's also damp, and you're just gonna kind of buff your whole skin. Mm-hmm. And that'll be enough exfoliation. Then you can either kind of rinse that off quickly and then apply another round of oil. And you should have a significant change in your dryness. Maybe you have to do that a couple times.
Very, very cool. That's
and then also just check you have a shower filter or whatever.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of. I thought so. I'm one of these.
Yeah.
I'm one of these crazy people that's
I'm
really
a crazy person.
Nut bar on water and filtration, because water is such a big thing, and getting that. And of course, if you live in a city, forget about it. You need like 50 million. You need 50 million.
We travel with a shower filter, or I just won't bathe.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I go into the thing and I'm like, I got my wrench going into hotels and unhooking things. And I got
our little tape
all over the place. Okay. I got the tape, all 9 yards. Yeah. Yes, folks, we are crazy, but we are committed.
Yes, very committed. I kind of think I'm like Howard Hughes sometimes. I'm like, I've been thinking about germs for a long time. In the books, in the 80s, I read books like The Coming Plague. And I read books that were based on like the antibiotic resistance that had built up. I was learning about that in 1994. And I was like, okay, we're going to be in trouble. And really nothing's really improved. So when I go out into the world from our beautiful acreage here, I really prepare. And so my whole goal is to really not touch or breathe in anything. And this is how I've been for like 15 years. So with Living Libations, we've made for years hand sanitizers that are so potent. Masks, we already made them because I designed them for when I'm flying. So it's not about whether it's effective for the virus, but I designed them so that I could inhale essential oils the whole flight. Wow. So you have them. So we take vintage sheets. They're really colorful. And then we put an organic layer on the inside, and they're washable and stuff. And then you sprinkle essential oils all over that, and then you put it over, and then you're on your flight, and you're just happy in your little realm of like orange blossoms and frankincense. And so we've had that for a while.
That's super cool. Now, one last thing before we get into the oral care, because that's, I think, a fascinating topic as well. I'm a dude. What do? I shave pretty much every day. How do I get around that whole thing? What are your suggestions around that? Because I know all the guys, they won't ask about it. So I'm going to ask.
You're saying you don't want to shave every day?
No, I do shave every day. I got to shave every day. Right. So I'm not one of these guys that want to wear the foot long beard that's kind of in vogue right now. I'm not into that look for whatever reason. So what do I do? What do I do as a guy to keep my skin good
and well, the best skin ever, really, if you just start that very simple step as a guy, I think, and considering a lot of guys don't do anything, or they do use soap, and then, and it's that harsh soap, I think that would be revolutionary. And, I'm not a guy.
So you put the best skin care ever, you shave with it, or you got
you can shave with it, or you just after you've done everything, you could just best skin ever on your face. Like the frankincense one's really good. Now we have the Zen shave, where I will use that like on my legs and stuff.
I like that, the Zen shave.
Zen shave. And I've been making the Zen shave.
I'm not even doing the shaving, it's doing itself.
That's kind of part of the copy. It's like the art, the Zen and the art of shaving, I call it.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So I've been making that since the 90s, and men love it. And it's like, you just need like about a dime for your whole beard. And men are just like, oh my God, I don't get the little like, the ingrown hair. Like they love it. And it's so simple.
So I just put that stuff, I just put that on my whiskers and could I rub it in like this?
It's like a shave cream. Yeah. You don't rub it in too much. You kind of just lightly.
How did I not know about this?
I don't know. Especially since you live like kitty corner to our.
You know what? I'm so dense. I never even thought about that. As a guy, you don't think about these things. It's like,
totally.
There's shave stuff for me.
Well, you know what happened is like back then when I opened my store, I mean, once people like got into it, they just were like, you need to cover every part of my body. So on one level where you could really take care of your body with just the best skin ever, we make it all because people are so they don't want to go anywhere else. So we make like cuticle oil and, we make it all. So we can cover every part of your body so you don't have to go somewhere else.
All right.
People don't want to.
Super great. Let's go to oral care.
Yes.
So for people who don't know this, like oral care is actually associated with longevity. People who have better oral health live like 8 years longer than people who don't, which is kind of crazy. So can you talk about oral care? I know you got an interesting thing I want to talk about too. You got a tongue scraper.
Yep.
So what the heck's tongue scraper, and why do you use it? And then why would you say that Living Libations kind of oral care is superior to what someone might get just over the counter, even if they're buying something that they think is natural or healthy or whatever? Because I think there's some misnomers out there where people say all natural or healthy. Right. So what are some of the give us the whole mouth thing?
Yeah, the mouth thing's really, it is deep. And that's even when I started my journey, as we talked about in the beginning, and I got the health thing, got the female body thing, and like, oh, if you have a headache, you could do this. So I started understanding like all these different things. And then I was kind of like with the mouth, it was really hard to find research on. So I really made it an effort to go into it because again, it was easy to find naturopaths. It wasn't so easy to find a dentist that was thinking differently. And it's really, really key because it's the portal to the rest of the body. Like it's the portal to the lungs, the stomach, the brain, everything. And we really haven't been, obviously because we're in Western culture, we kind of severed the head from the rest of the body. And the mouth just seemed like severed from the rest of the body too, even further. That's how I grew up, just thinking, your teeth come in as an adult and then they're fixed and they're not alive. They're not connected to the rest of the body, but they are alive. They are connected to the rest of the body. And so a lot of the dental procedures that we've been doing for the last 40, 50, 60 years, and a lot of the things we've been using to care for our teeth are just so wrong now that we know, especially now that we know about the microbiome. It just adds a whole new layer. So there's some practices that really set us off on wrong courses, like for decades. So like root canals, mercury fillings, unneeded wisdom teeth removals, which 67% of them are unnecessary. The chemicals, the fluoride, the chemicals that we've been using, the alcohol mouthwashes, not only they're not good for douching, they're not good for our mouths. And you can easily Google this stat. I think they create 37,000 cases of oral cancer a year.
Yikes.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And it's just sitting there on the shelf. So, and then the triclosan in toothpaste, or, all the sodium lauryl sulfate, all of that makes your gums thinner, susceptible to bleeding. Mercury can make your gums susceptible to bleeding, can make your gums recede. So it's like the whole package has really created a vicious cycle of like, all these advancements and all these products at the drugstore, but we've never had more decay, more missing teeth, more root canals than ever before. So really, and 98% of Americans have periodontal disease. So the mouth it's like, and it really is connected. So, Stephen Sinatra, the heart doctor, says, flossing would add 7 years to your life. I just did an interview with Dr. Gundry, the lectin doctor, and he did an experiment just on his own with flossing and then testing his cytokines, or with a small group. I forget what it was, but the people that flossed every day had so much less than the people that like were flossing every other day, for example. So like, that's really neat, you know?
Amazing.
Yeah. So we've really kind of pull it together. But the good news is that our mouths are alive. There is a whole alive microbiome in there, and it's just waiting for you to turn it around. And really, the condition of your mouth, whatever state your mouth's in right now, it can evolve and it can turn around, because gum pockets you can bring back down. There are ways to arrest cavitations. You can, get the alkalinity in your mouth up, and then things will start improving. So that's sort of the backlog there. And then also, we haven't been thinking about the tooth's relationship to the rest of the body, because I say it's connected, but how? And this is the really fascinating part, and I think is a really key for us to understand. And this has been proven by thousands of tests. So there was a dentist doctor, Dr. Ralph Steinem, who was a practicing dentist in the 50s, would get so allergy laden in August, he couldn't practice. And he read about not eating like the white foods, so he eliminated them, and he totally changed. He's like, oh my God, I don't have allergies anymore. So he just wanted to study more, because he really had this feeling that the teeth were systemically connected to the body. But back in the 50s, he was fresh off the data from the 40s, which was no, the theory of cavities is going to be acidogenic. And that's what the Dental Association chose at that time. Apparently there was kind of a pivot in the 40s, and then they chose acidogenic. And that means like acid and sugar on the teeth create cavities. But what we now know from these studies that show there's a dentinal lymphatic fluid. So every tooth has a lymphatic system, which is just amazing. Phenomenal. And that's, of course, how the nutrients get to the tooth. So our teeth are like trees with roots, and how trees draw up nutrients into the trunk and then out to the branches. So our teeth draw up the nutrients from the blood into the pulp chamber. This is the center of the tooth that's removed if you have a root canal. So it draws it up, and then at that point, through little chemical reactions, that blood becomes the lymphatic fluid. And then through the odontoblast, it gets pushed up out and onto the surface of the teeth, like microscopic sweat, this fluid.
Wow.
This
Crazy.
Crazy. And then that coalesces with the saliva to, coat the teeth and make it, it's like the sap's coming out. And then that should be the sea of alkalinity, or if there's like a part of the tooth that needs help, like the body will go there and help to do it. So that's if everything's working properly. When we have a lot of chemical exposure, hormonal stress, so, teens or pregnancy times, those kind of situations, or we don't have a diet rich in fat-soluble vitamins and minerals, just sort of like a basic healthy diet, or it is high in sugar, not because it's touching your teeth, but because of what it does to your blood sugar. So what happens if that's all going on is that dentinal lymph system will stagnate through all that chemical stress messaging. Or even like cell phone use, because we have the parotid glands right here, which are signaling to the hypothalamus for this whole lymphatic thing to take place. So it can become stagnant, or worse, it can reverse. Then the teeth become like a straw, sucking in bacteria and viruses and fungus from the oral environment into the tooth. And that is the genesis of a cavity.
Wow. You bring up something. I know I studied with a fellow by the name of Dr. Tennant, and he was talking.
Jerry?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I know him.
He's
Jerry.
great.
I don't know.
So
I love just the title of his book.
Yeah, one of his his book Healing with Voltage, he kind of goes through that the teeth work as circuit breakers for all of the organs of the body. So they do more than just look pretty on a picture or chew your food. These are dynamic elements to the flow of electricity and nutrients and detoxification and feeding. Like they're far more dynamic than, what we thought as we pulled our little tooth out and put it under a pillow for the tooth fairy. So what are some of the things that you suggest in order to have optimal oral health care in your mouth that you guys provide?
Well, a lot of what we need to do at first is to stop doing some things. So again, Stop using
the
the chlorine.
insanity.
Stop. Exactly.
Stop.
Stop. So stop brushing with the fluoride and chlorine water, you know, that kind of stuff. Use your filter. Have a bottle of spring, like if you can't get normal water, then just keep a bottle of spring water and glass on your, like if you have to buy it, you know, and then use it to wash your face and brush your teeth. Like if it's that, or this is what I do when I'm traveling.
Right.
If I can't put my shower filter on. So we want to stop using the harsh chemical toothpaste and the triclosan. You know, you don't want to be eating GMOs because the glyphosates and the microbiome. And then, so stop. And then you do, like, obviously I make a whole bunch of dental serums and stuff, but forget, you may not even know me. Just start with baking soda, sea salts. If you brush with baking soda on its own or sea salt on its own or together for the rest of your life, you will be better off than anything at the drugstore.
That's great. So now, do you guys actually share education of how to use your products and things like that? Do you have a way of like, you have so many amazing products. I mean, you go into your store, it's like this cornucopia of some kind of like magic kingdom that smells great and has all these wonderful benefits. And of course, someone can get lost in there and kind of go in. So if you could give us maybe the top 3 things a person can start on their kind of move to organic beauty products, what would they be? And then if you can kind of follow up and say, how do they find out more about these? How do they learn about your company? Where do they go? All that sort of stuff.
Sure. Well, one of the first things I think with the oral care is to, you know, either use the baking soda or whatever, but we also have these dental serums, which are just so potent. So if you can even add that to your baking soda to just really amp it up. And then you take these drops and you can use 1 drop on your toothbrush with a pinch of baking soda, or just 1 drop on its own, and you're brushing, and that is on its own is a miracle. And I mean, the gum resiliency, I mean, every dentist is like, I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up. So that's really good. But another really key area where the dental serums come in is you put a drop along your floss. So you take 1 drop, slide along your floss, then you floss, and then you get those botanical biotics up into the crevice of each tooth, and it really turns around like bleeding gums and a whole bunch of stuff. So that those are little miracle workers. So I kind of think of each area like you want to, so that could be your mouth. Again, we have paste, we have swishing serums for oil pulling, we have the tongue scrapers, which is ancient Ayurvedic. You've got so much plaque on, not you, but I mean, people, we got plaque on our tongues. You want it. It's like brushing your tongue, except that you might make you gag. So you can get a tongue scraper. We have a copper one. You can use a spoon upside down. Again, you can get started right away.
I want to know how you use your tongue scraper. Tell people how
like
you use
this.
your tongue scraper.
Yeah, you just like stick out your tongue and then scrape. It's hard to talk and do it at the same time. You'll probably do it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Do you go till you bleed, or you just, how many times?
Oh no, don't bleed. Just like 3 times. Well, you'll just see. You'll do it, and then like the less plaque, and the farther back you can get. Right. And if you've never done it before, maybe the first 2 times there'll be like a little rug there, and then it'll get less and less and less and
less. Does that enhance your taste as well?
It does everything. Like there's a lot of history there. Yeah, you want to get it out.
Tongue scraping.
I think there's so much wisdom in the ancient Ayurvedic practices.
So we're taking your oral care.
Yeah, oral care, and then the best skin ever. We've got a few, but there's sort of 4 main ones. And
yes, tell us. Joseph, I want to hear the products. Please tell me what I need to go down to your store and buy from you.
I also just want to say, anybody can email us any question. We will answer. We answer so many questions from health to dentistry, or like, I got a root canal, I don't know what to do. Like we'll guide you on the right way. And Beautiful. We also have free consulting. So
wow.
Yeah, wow. Because we
online kind of story. Like you're so passionate. That's so amazing.
We're just like, it's a lot, we got a lot to learn, and we're just happy. Like we like to go deep with people and keep it real, because, we're not about the veneers around here. And, right. So for some people, using the best skin ever will change their history of cystic acne in like a week.
Yep.
And they don't even have to change the diet, because I'm a big believer in like, well, maybe there's some things out. But the miracle is, for some people, it can just be switching and getting off that vicious cycle of like creams and benzoyl peroxides and all of that. And for some people, it's like, that might work, and they may need to do something else. So we're also here to say, hey, like maybe it's that, and that, because we just really want people to feel good and just feel successful and happy in their skin and with their teeth. Because when we can feel good, we can feel confident with that, it just makes life, that's just one part of life taken care of.
So we got the oil care, we got the
the thing in this frankincense best skin ever, great for guys, or the sandalwood one, beautiful. And then we've got the sea buckthorn best skin ever, which is our classic, most popular. I think there's about 3,000 reviews on that.
And you can put that anywhere?
Yeah, again, anywhere. And you can wash your face. So that's a big thing for people is like, oh, I'm going to wash my face with oil, especially if they've had acne. It's like a mind thing, but it's like the success is really great. And it's a miracle for people. So there's that. And then maybe changing up your deodorant to one of the poetic pits, because that's like a major toxic area. And the improvement is so fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like you've taken something very utilitarian, like your solid secret stick or whatever they're called, you know, just you've been doing it forever. And then you get to go into this realm of like pure beauty and like smelling good. People even like sweating themselves because then the smell comes up throughout the day. You know, they're like, oh yeah, or if you get hot, it's only better. So we've got that, and there's just so many options. It is hard. So
turn your sweat into a sexy, seductive aroma. I love it. Nadine, where can people reach you? How can they find out more? I know you got online, you got Instagram, you got Facebook, you got your store. Like, tell us where they can find you, your company, and everything that you're doing.
Yeah, we're online at livinglibations.com, and there's tons of articles and previous podcasts, or, you know, and again, you can email us questions, and there's a whole little world in there. And then, Instagram's my fave. That's where you'll see photos of our beautiful land and headquarters. And then we've got the boutique in Venice, right on Brooks. And
yes, it does.
And then all the social media stuff, you know.
Nadine, you're amazing. You're doing such great work in the world. As they say, the OG of natural, holistic health, beauty, skin. Go down to the store in Venice. It's a beautiful place to check out, and go in there, or reach out online if you don't have the opportunity, since Venice is all locked down right now. And get a consultation, find out more, find out about what your needs are, and touch in with Nadine. She's literally a living legend in the industry, and she's reviewed by the best of the best, the who's who. Her secrets are now revealed to you, but you got to take action on them. So check it out, livinglibations.com. Thanks for joining us today for another awesome health show from Bioptimizers. Be healthy and have the best skin ever. Take care.
And now for a Bioptimizer's fixed digestion tip: how to get away with eating sugar. Hey, look, sugar is normally one of the worst things for you. But let's be honest. I mean, we all cheat from time to time. And here's a little trick that will ensure your body benefits from the sugar. Now, before you eat or drink anything sweet, take 5 to 8 capsules of P3OM. The patented strain in the formula devours sugar so fast, it literally doubles in the body every 20 minutes in the presence of sugar. That doesn't mean that you can or you should eat a bunch of sugar or sit around all day doing that. But on the days that you do cheat, or you go after one of those maybe meals that you wouldn't normally do, this ensures that you get something in your gut that eats the sugar. And it's not going to feed the bad guys or spike your blood glucose nearly as much. So to learn more about P3OM and its sugar-devouring and protein-digesting properties and how it can transform your gut and metabolism, go to www.bioptimizers.com.
Thank you for listening to the BiOptimizers Awesome Health Podcast. You can find more information at bioptimizers.com.